Good morning. The hour of convening having arrived, all members will please take their seats. The clerk will please ring the bell. We're going to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber. And Mr. Clerk, please unlock the machines. Will someone please vote Representative Holland's machine? Got it. Thank you, Representative Seabaugh. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Did you have someone didn't vote, Mr. Clerk? The doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. As our custom, we will begin our day with scripture, reading, and a prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the lady from the 54th House District, Representative Betsy Holland. Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. I could not be more excited to introduce my pastor today and to recognize some of our church family who are here in the gallery to see us. The Reverend Emma Neischlaw serves us at Morningside Presbyterian Church as our associate pastor. She oversees adult education, our community outreach, and our mission work, and perhaps most importantly, as the parent of a teenager, she is our youth pastor. Pastor Emma, because that's easier to say than the Reverend Emma Neischlaw, Pastor Emma is celebrating her 5th year at Morningside, just had her anniversary. That's easy for me to remember because I had the honor of chairing the search committee that brought her to Atlanta. She's a graduate of Princeton Theological Seminary and came to us from Pittsburgh, so while she's not a native Georgian, y'all, I got her here as fast as I possibly could. Emma is gifted from the pulpit and obviously a great congregational leader. There were 2 things that when chairing the search committee really stood out to me that made her a top choice. One was sentimental. She went to the same seminary as my dad. The second was when we both discovered we were rabid fans of the television show The West Wing and loved presidential and political trivia. So when you meet her in the anteroom, you can try to stump her with some presidential knowledge. I am so grateful to the speaker for allowing us to have her here today and to hear her message. So please welcome Pastor Emma Neischlaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Holland. It is a great honor and a joy to be with all of you this morning. As Representative Holland said, I came to the great state of Georgia just over 5 years ago, and I will be honest, I never imagined myself living in Georgia, and that's nothing against the state of Georgia. It's just very far from my beloved home in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and y'all don't have a professional hockey team, which is tough for me, but I feel called to ministry. And so when I felt a call to the congregation I serve, I came. I imagine that you all know a little bit of what that feels like, perhaps not in the leaving of home or the longing for NHL hockey, but in the decision to say yes to something that demands big things from us. The choice to enter into public service was not a small or an easy one, I imagine. Your lives are different because you answered a call, whether from your constituents, your creator, from the state of Georgia. And even though our jobs are very different, we are all here today answering our respective calls. So in the few short minutes I have with you this morning, I thought that I might offer a way to respond to our calls using what I am willing to claim is the most important verse in the Old Testament. And I know that that is a bold claim, but the most important verse in the Old Testament is found in Deuteronomy 22. Now, Deuteronomy is chock full of laws for living. It contains everything from how you treat foreigners to how to worship God to how to plant and sow your vineyards. It's important, to be sure, but it's often very granular. And Deuteronomy 22 is no exception. It opens with instructions for how to treat your neighbor's livestock. If your neighbor's ox wanders off, you care for it, you take it home. If you don't know where the ox belongs, you take it into your home and treat it as your own until his owner comes to find him. This may seem like common sense, it may seem wholly unimportant, but right there in the midst of these verses is this important phrase: you shall not withhold your help. Though perhaps a closer translation is, you shall not remain indifferent. If you see a lost ox or a lost donkey, you shall not, will not refuse to help. With this declaration, we are given less of a law to follow and more of an approach to life. We must be oriented toward being engaged, being not only aware of needs, of injustices, but having a desire and a motivation to do something about it. This simple phrase tells us what our call is, what our jobs are. We see the places that help is needed, and then we do something about it. It leaves us no room for a not my pig, not my farm kind of attitude. We cannot turn away from need. I imagine that each of you over the course of your tenure has been and will continue to be confronted with needs and injustices and wrongdoings, both big and small. I also imagine that there will be times when it feels difficult to act. The problem feels too overwhelming. You just don't have the time. The issue doesn't garner much media attention. The solution costs too much money, or worse, the solution was suggested by a member of the other party. And yet, we cannot remain indifferent. I know that we are all humans, incapable of righting every wrong, healing every hurt, mending every broken place, and yet that should never dissuade us from trying, because we have said yes to a call, because there are problems and hurts in our communities, because we refuse to turn away. There is yet another translation of Deuteronomy 22:3. You shall not hide from yourself. Offering help to someone, to everyone, is part of what it means to be human. It is a fundamental part of who we are created to be and who we are called to be. It is my hope that as you do the important work of this legislative season, that you will not hide from yourselves. As you strive to serve Georgia, as each of us seeks to live into our call, may we never be indifferent. Let us pray. God, who goes by many names, today we will call you love. May love drive out fear and pave the way for peace and give birth to new things. Inspire us and empower us to push back against apathy, indifference, and selfish gain, that we may answer the call you have placed on our lives. Work in and through us that we may, with all of our ability, love and serve our neighbors as we love ourselves. Open our eyes to the needs around us. Give us minds that strive for new solutions. May our hearts be set on fire. Remind us what it means to be human. God of love, give us grace to risk something big for something good, and grace to remember that the world is now too dangerous for anything but the truth and too small for anything but love. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors, and as our custom, members may greet the chaplain in the south anteroom. Chair now recognizes Chairman Tarvin, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits. Chairman Tarvin.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits has read the legislative journal from the previous legislative day and found it to be correct. And on another note, we cannot change the direction of the wind, but we can adjust our sails to reach our destination.
Truer words were never spoken, Chairman Tarvin. Chairman Tarvin, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to dispense with the readings of the journal? Chair hears none. The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Representative Administration of the 104th moves following to be established as the order of business under the first part of the period unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of House bills and resolutions, second reading of bills and resolutions, morning orders.
Right here. Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. You may want to listen to this. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 39 by Representative Lim of the 98th, Camp of the 135th, Hagan of the 156th, Carpenter of the 4th, and Maynard of the 56th. A bill being titled Act to Amend Chapter 3, Title 20, the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to post-secondary education.
Higher education.
House Bill 40 by Representative Lim of the 98th, Stevens of the 164th, Fry of the 122nd, Martin of the 49th, Holcomb of the 81st, and others. Bill be titled Act to Amend Article 3, Chapter 13 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to excise tax on rooms.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 41 by Representative Lim of the 98th, Gunner of the 8th, Oliver of the 82nd, Newton of the 127th, Howell of the 50th, and others. Bill be titled Act to Amend Title 37 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to mental health.
Public and Community Health.
House Bill 42 by Representative Lim of the 98th, Lumsden of the 12th, Reeves of the 99th, and Maynard of the 56th. Bill be titled Act to Amend Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to ad valorem taxation.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 43 by Representative Lim of the 98th, Taylor of the 173rd, Mathiak of the 74th, McLean of the 109th, Maynard of the 56th. Bill be titled Act to Amend Article 7 of Chapter 12 of Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to protection of American Indian human remains and burial objects.
State Planning and Community Affairs.
House Bill 44 by Representative Isle of the 50th, Beverly of the 143rd, Mitchell of the 88th, Park of the 107th, Roberts the 52nd, and others. The bill be titled Act to Amend Part 5, Article 4, Chapter 11 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to Brady Law regulations.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 45 by Representative Isle of the 50th, Park of the 107th, Lemon of the 98th, Mugall of the 105th, Roman of the 97th, and others. Bill be titled Act to Amend Part 5, Article 4, Chapter 11 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to Brady Law regulations.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 46 by Representative Iowa of the 50th, Newton of the 127th, Captain of the 135th, Cooper of the 45th, and Lott of the 131st. Bill be titled Act to Amend Article 2, Chapter 5 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to assault and battery and related offenses.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 47 by Representative Petrie of the 166th, Collins 71st, Jones of the 25th, McDonald of the 26th, Cameron of the 1st, and others. Will be titled Act to Amend Code Section 46, 393, and 52, 7 to 12.2, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to homicide by vehicle and homicide by vessel.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 48 by Representative Petrie, the 166th, Gullett of the 19th, Gunner of the 8th, Stevens of the 164th, and Collins the 71st. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to primaries and elections generally.
Governmental affairs.
House Bill 49 by Representative Green in the 154th. Bill be titled act to amend the act creating the Board of Education of Seminole County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 50 by Representative Werkheiser in the 157th. Bill be titled an act to amend the act to provide a new charter for the city of Hagen.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 51 by Representative Perkle of the 169th and Corbett of the 174th. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to elementary and secondary education.
Education.
House Bill 52 by Representative Thomas, the 21st, Jaspers, the 11th, Barton, the 5th, Wiedauer, the 121st, Seaball, the 34th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 32 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to highways, bridges, and ferries.
Transportation.
House Bill 53 by Representative Corbett of the 174th, Meeks of the 178th, Perkle of the 169th, Dickey of the 145th, and Williams of the 148th. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 2 of Article 1 of Chapter 6 of Title 12 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to practice of professional forestry.
Natural resources and environment.
House Bill 54 by Representative Carson of the 46th, Hilton of the 48th, Reeves of the 99th, Earhart of the 36th, Knight of the 134th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 7, Title 48 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to the imposition rate computation exemptions and credits from state income taxes.
Ways and means.
House Bill 55 by Representative Williamson of the 112th, Williamson of the 48th, Dickey of the 145th, Wade of the 9th, Ridley of the 6th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 7 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to banking and finance.
Banks and banking.
House Bill 56 by Representative Petrie of the 166th, Hitchinson of the 61st, Collins the 71st, Cameron of the 1st, Lumsden of the 12th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Subpart 7 of Part 3 of Article 7 of Chapter 3 of Title 20 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to grants to children of law enforcement officers.
Higher education.
House Resolution 18 by Representative Howell, the 50th, Beverly the 143rd, Parker the 107th, Mitchell the 88th, Roberts the 52nd, and others. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the State of Georgia so as to provide that the General Assembly may be provided by general law for the redistricting of the state, congressional, and state house and senate districts.
Judiciary.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolution. The clerk will read.
House Bill 3 by Representative Scott of the 76th, Beverly of the 143rd, Davis of the 87th, Schofield of the 63rd, Barnes of the 86th, and others. A bill relating to program weights and funding requirements under the Quality Basic Education Act. House Bill 24 by Representative Thomas of the 65th, Lim of the 98th, Jackson of the 128th. A bill relating to state flags, steel, and other symbols. House Bill 25 by Representative Thomas of the 65th, Buckner of the 137th, Drenner of the 85th. A bill relating to imposition rate computation exemptions from income taxes. House Bill 26 by Representative Thomas of the 65th, Lim of the 98th, Drenner of the 85th, and Buckner of the 137th. A bill relating to amendment and revision of codes. House Bill 27 by Representative Thomas of the 65th, Lim of the 98th, and Jackson of the 128th. A bill relating to general provisions of the Georgia Building Authority. House Bill 28 by Representative Anderson of the 10th and Irwin of the 32nd. A bill to amend an act to reincorporate and provide a new charter for the town of Alto. House Bill 29 by Representative Anderson of the 10th and Irwin of the 32nd, a bill to authorize the City of Cornelia to exercise all redevelopment and other powers under the Redevelopment Powers Law. House Bill 30 by Representative Carson of the 46th, Abstration of the 104th, Panitch of the 51st, Evans of the 57th, Bazemore of the 69th, and others, a bill relating to general provisions relative to state government. House Bill 31 by Representative Buckner of the 137th, Fry of the 122nd, Leverett of the 123rd, Smith of the 138th, Smith of the 70th, and others, a bill relating to hazardous site response. House Bill 32 by Representative Douglas of the 78th, Martin of the 49th, McLean of the 109th, Rhodes of the 124th, Hatchett of the 155th, and others, a bill relating to the other educational programs under the Quality Basic Education Act. House Bill 33 by Representative Camp of the 135th, Mathiak of the 74th, Lim of the 98th, Owl of the 50th, Cameron of the 1st, a bill relating to veterinarians and veterinary technicians, House Bill 34 by Representative Williamson of the 112th, Williams of the 148th, Dickey of the 145th, Wade of the 9th, Ridley of the 6th, and others, a bill relating to imposition rate computation, exemptions, and credits relative to state income tax, House Bill 35 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st, Stevens of the 164th, Lums of the 12th, Jackson of the 165th, and Williams of the 168th, a bill relating to the Georgia Ports Authority, House Bill 36 by Representative Martin of the 49th, a bill relating to ad valorem taxation of property, House Bill 37 by Representative Beverly of the 143rd, Mitchell of the 88th, Park of the 107th, Scott of the 76th, Bennett of the 94th, and others, a bill relating to medical assistance generally provided as public assistance, House Bill 38 by Representative Beverly of the 143rd, Mitchell of the 88th, Park of the 107th, Scott of the 76th, Bennett of the 94th, and others, a bill relating to medical assistance generally. House Resolution 10 by Thomas of the 65th, Drenner of the 85th, Lim of the 98th, a resolution creating the House Study Committee on Public Water Systems Serving Disadvantaged Communities. House Resolution 11 by Representative Schofield of the 63rd, Scott of the 76th, Carter of the 93rd, Davis of the 87th, Cannon of the 58th, a resolution urging the United States Congress to take swift action to ensure that women with autoimmune disease and conditions do not lose access to medically necessary treatment. House Resolution 12 by Representative Thomas of the 65th, Lim of the 98th, Jackson of the 128th, a resolution urging leadership in all Georgia's counties who have reported citizens living in a tent, box, sleeping bag, or other impromptu shelter as a permanent home solution to diligently work with certain nonprofit award recipients to combat housing insecurity and homelessness. 3 second readers.
Members will come to order. Members will come to order. Please take your seats, or if it's real important, you can go to either any room. Take your choice. I want to introduce a former member, but first I want to let you know I just learned just a moment ago, thanks to our great messenger, that Representative Glaze fell this morning on the steps coming in here, and she's been taken to the hospital. Mr. Leader, is there any further report on her at this time? We will update y'all as soon as we get any further information on how she is, and we'll be glad we'll let all the membership know. But if you will this morning, certainly as you pause and you go through your day, remember her and say a prayer that she's not hurt badly and that she'll be back with us here tomorrow. Thank you. Let us know if you don't mind, sir. We also have a former member who's with us today, Representative Dusty Hightower, who served here as Deputy Whip to the Majority Caucus and who is now a Superior Court Judge in Coweta County in the Coweta Circuit. Representative Hightower, we're glad to have you with us, man. We're awfully proud of his service to our state, and certainly now on the judiciary, we appreciate his service as well. Representative Jones, if you'll make your way down, we'll have morning orders now, and we'll allow you to introduce our Doctor of the Day, Representative Sheila Jones. Representative Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Fellow colleagues, I'm introduced to you our Doctor of the Day. Dr. Mims is Vice President and Chief Medical Officer for Alliant Health Solutions, the Quality Innovation Network. She held that role for 10 years. The network contract currently serves Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Louisiana. Dr. Mims is board certified in family medicine and geriatrics with fellowship status in both specialties. She has more than 30 years of clinical practice experience, including caring for Medicare beneficiaries in the hospital, office, nursing home, hospice, and home care. We are impressed by her unique insight to the needs of the patient and family members, not to mention the clinical care team. Dr. Mims also sits on the boards of the Georgia Academy of Family Physicians and Georgia Alzheimer's Association. Dr. Mims was appointed by the Governor of Georgia to the Georgia Older Adults Cabinet and the Georgia Council on Aging. Dr. Mims completed her undergraduate training at George Washington University Medical School at Stanford University. Let us welcome and recognize Dr. Mims.
Thank you, Representative Jones, and we appreciate Dr. Mims serving us today. Thank you, Dr. Mims. Thank you, Representative Jones. Chair now recognizes Representative Montahan for a morning order.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning, members. Please help me welcome the over 70 members of the Georgia Association of Voter Registration and Election Officials, known as GAVREO. GAVREO is a bipartisan group that was established in 2018 when the Georgia Election Officials Association and the Voter Registrars Association of Georgia merged together. It is made up of 5 elected executive board members and committees from all over the great state of Georgia. Ms. Deidre Holden and Charlotte Sosby from Athens-Clarke County served as the first co-presidents. GAVREO works with counties and the Secretary of State and the State Election Division to provide certification for all election officials, as well as working with the General to shape policy that will benefit all voters of Georgia. We thank each and every GAVREO member for their hard work in this past election, marking the most successful election in Georgia history and working hard on the behalf of all voting Georgians. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and welcome to the People's House. Thank you, Representative. If you have an afternoon order, if you will start making your way down front, we'll recognize you in just a moment. Mr. Clerk, would you mind reading the caption to a group of privileged resolutions?
Honoring the life and memory of Debbie Lee Mason. Recognizing and commending Shirley Powell on her outstanding public service. Congratulating the Forest City Juniors and the Forest City Gun Club for winning the 2022 Scholastic Clay Target Program National Championship. Congratulating the Benedictine Military School Cadets football team for winning the 2022 Georgia High School Association Class 4A State Championship. Commending Hemophilia of Georgia. Recognizing and commending 13th Colliery Distilleries, commending the Georgia Youth Science and Technology Centers, as well as the 2023 Don Cargill STEM Scholars for their innovative integrated teaching of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Commending and congratulating Elaine Isaac Menno-Penner. Recognizing the Lunar New Year's celebration. Recognizing and commending Michael Harris II. Recognizing and commending the Lake Spivey Chapter Jack and Jill of America, Inc., and for other purposes. That completes the reading of the privileged resolutions.
Is there any objection to adopting the privilege resolutions? Chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. I want to pause right there and thank you members for paying attention. Privilege resolutions are always important to us as members and those we seek to honor and to serve, so thank you for your attention, and I do appreciate that. We'll now have afternoon orders. We have several, so we want to try to hold them to about 2 minutes. I know some of them are very important, so the first afternoon order will be Representative Will Wade. Representative Wade.
Thank you, Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I rise today to celebrate the life of a constituent of mine, probably the most precious constituent, that of my mother. Today is her 76th birthday, and she, like many Georgians, have gone through a lot, but she is a true spirit of what makes America great. She was an Air Force brat, her term, and she landed in the mid-60s at Warner Robins Air Force Base, graduated summa cum laude from Tift College. She has the best handwriting of any person I've ever met, and she's the best grandmother to my 2 children, and I hope you will join me in reflecting on such an amazing woman. Thank you, Speaker.
I know your mama's proud of you, boy. Mr. Representative, good stuff. Thank you for doing, Will, and happy birthday to your mother. Representative Kendricks is recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. I know everybody loves technology. I know I do. There is a letter that is on your desk for my 4th Tech for All Policy Conference. We're having a VIP reception at ATDC with some special guests, including our new chair of tech and infrastructure. So please join us as we talk about tech and workforce development. And then February the 16th, we'll have a group of tech enthusiasts down here to talk about bills that are important to them. So please stop by room 307 to hear from them, and then I'll acknowledge them while they are in the gallery as well. And then join us at City Hall for a lunch, a delicious lunch, as we honor people who have made a difference in workforce development in the technology industry. So hopefully you'll join me February the 15th or February the 16th. And if I can answer any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Chair now recognizes Representative Alexander and Bazemore, Representative Bazemore, for a morning order on the Women's Caucus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, everybody. I expect to see all the women today at the Women Legislative Caucus meeting in room 230 at 11:30, and lunch will be served. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your announcement. Chair now recognizes Representative Kennard for an announcement. For a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you'll indulge me just for a moment, would all the grandfathers in the House please stand? If you're a grandfather, would you mind standing? Yeah, all right. Today I would like to announce the establishment of the Grandfather Caucus, of which, as of 2 Thursdays ago, I am the newest member. On the screen you'll see our new grandson. That's Nathaniel William Clark. After we swore in on January 9th, Pam and I immediately drove to Maryland to witness the birth of our first grandchild. It was very exciting. He was born in Annapolis, Maryland. My son-in-law, Chris, and my daughter, Alex, they're there for 2 years. He has taken an assignment to teach navigation at the Naval Academy, so we were very pleased about all that. They did so good with the baby. My wife, her term of endearment for our grandchildren is going to be Graham. I kind of test drove a few. I started out with grandfather, Pop, G Diddy was a consideration. But we've landed on Big Papi. So, So I've got a few titles now: pastor, nonprofit executive. I'm a success coach. I'm also a state representative, but Big Papi, I'm going to really enjoy that role. Thank you for indulging me this morning. Big Papi out.
Thank you for that morning order there, Representative Big Papi. I was having a little trouble with your name, but I've got Big Papi. I can handle that. Representative Lauren McDaniel, Governor's floor leader, is recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this is something that's near and dear to all of us that happened this last week, that Georgia State Patrol just wanted to kind of make a statement, the ones that protect us here at the Capitol and protect us around the state. And I just want to read a little statement from them. On Wednesday, January 18, 2023, the Georgia State Patrol Special Weapons and Tactics SWAT team was requested to assist the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Atlanta Police Department, and DeKalb Police Department with an operation to identify people who were trespassing and committing other crimes on the site of a future City of Atlanta Police Safety Training Center. On such date at 9 a.m., state troopers of the SWAT team were moving through the property with other law enforcement officers and located a man inside of a tent in the woods. The state troopers gave the man commands to leave the tent and identify himself, under the threat of being arrested for criminal trespass. The man refused to comply with the troopers' commands, and even after being told he was under arrest and needed to exit the tent immediately. The man fired a 9mm handgun in the direction of the troopers, striking one in the abdomen area. The other state troopers immediately returned fire, striking the man. Law enforcement officers worked quickly to evacuate the injured trooper to a safe area where he was transported to a local hospital. The trooper was rushed into emergency surgery and is currently in stable condition, resting at a local hospital. The man who fired upon the law enforcement officers was pronounced deceased at the scene. It was later discovered the firearm used was illegally purchased in September 2020 by the shooter, identified as Manuel Esteban Perez Terran. The handgun used was identified as a Smith & Wesson M&P Shield 9mm. This is a statement by the Georgia State Patrol. And just please keep all that were involved in this in our prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Nulowitz is recognized for a afternoon order.
Hi, everyone. This is your annual reminder that January is Cervical Cancer Awareness Month in Georgia and in the United States. More than 15,000 women annually in the United States are diagnosed with cervical cancer. Around 500 of these are in Georgia. Around 4,200 women die every year of cervical cancer. That's 140 women in Georgia who we lose every year to cervical cancer. And the thing about cervical cancer, it is incredibly treatable. 1 in 5 women in Georgia, though, don't get the screening that can detect and prevent cervical cancer, so they can be treated early. What's astonishing about cervical cancer is that 95% of cervical cancers are caused by the HPV virus. That's the human papilloma virus. And the great thing, the miracle of this, is that there is a vaccine for HPV. It is available to every teenager and young adult in Georgia. My 2 teenagers are fully vaccinated against HPV, which means that they are probably never going to face one of these cervical cancers and also a lot of head and neck cancers that are related to the HPV virus. I encourage everyone to learn more about the HPV virus and the vaccine and the reality of cervical cancer in Georgia and in the United States. This is Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. We had an organization that was down here at the Capitol last week. We have a resolution in their honor I'm going to be circulating, and I hope that you will take the moment to read some of the facts that were put on your desk yesterday. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative, for that information. Chairman Mitchell is recognized for an evening order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I first of all want to thank my friend and colleague, Representative Katie Dempsey, for pointing out the imminent unwinding of the Medicaid throughout the COVID-19, the pandemic public health emergency, states have been required to suspend termination of coverage of individuals who are already enrolled because in Medicaid. This continuous coverage will end, and I want to thank her because this is an issue that our caucus has been working on as well. And in the bipartisan support of her efforts, I would encourage you all to join our efforts. In particularly, the leader has sponsored HB 37. The unwinding official name is the Family's First Coronavirus Response Act. 41% percentage increase in Georgia Medicaid enrollment since the start of COVID-19 has happened. It is estimated that almost over 500,000 Georgians who will lose Medicaid coverage after the unwinding, and it'll take 14 months. Georgia has to complete all redeterminations. So I would encourage you to, in a bipartisan support, of course, to support this effort. And of course, we have another bill sponsored by the leader to expand Medicaid in its entirety. With that, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you.
Thank you, Representative. The chair now recognizes Representative Becky Evans for an afternoon order. Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I want to call your attention to the invitation on your desk today to attend the Environmental and Clean Energy Open House tomorrow afternoon, Wednesday, the 25th. We have lunch and networking with environmental advocates from 12:45 to 1:30, and the program will be from 1:30 to 2:30. It's in CLOB 605. And also it's available via Zoom if you're going from one thing to the next and you need to work from your office. So we'll have advocates from the Georgia Water Coalition, Georgia Solar, Electrification, from the Okefenokee, from several different environmental and activist groups. So I invite you to join us tomorrow afternoon, 12:45 for lunch, 1:30 for the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Chair now recognizes Chair Lady Katie Dempsey for an afternoon order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Mitchell, for drawing attention to this. That's all I want to do is make sure that you realize this is on your desk. It's a wonderful resource. It's really not about expanding Medicaid. It's not about denying Medicaid. It's the factual information that deals with the actual unwinding that we are required to do by the federal government. All states have been under the COVID public health emergency, and for the next 12-month period, we must unwind and go back and check. People who were on Medicaid were not checked as they would have been. People who might need to be on it were also not brought in. I know it's a very complicated subject. It's heartfelt for many people, but our challenge, each and every one of us, is to make sure that those who should have this resource do have it. And as you hear from constituents that might have questions, I hope that this will help you realize the planning and actions that are related to the Medicaid unwinding that occurred during the calendar year of 2022 and the primary risks and potential strategies that are being taken on by those who work in this in our state. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair Leader Dempsey, and we appreciate your passionate hard work in this subject matter. That completes our afternoon orders. We'll move on now to announcements. Chair recognizes Chairman Corbett for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Upon adjournment, the Rural Caucus will be meeting in the Agriculture Building across the street. Lunch will be provided. It's the second largest caucus in the chamber, and I would like to make that the largest caucus. So y'all come join us for some DOS barbecue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair recognizes Representative McClain for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to remind the Gwinnett House delegation that we'll be meeting in room 605 at 12 o'clock, and lunch will be provided, but please do come and have the lunches being provided for you and not going to Dawes. So the Gwinnett House delegation will meet in room 605 at noon, at 12 noon. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative McLean. Chair recognizes Chairman Robert Dickey for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Those of you who are on Agricultural and Consumer Affairs Committee, we have our first meeting in the morning, 8 o'clock. I don't think it's hit your emails yet. My AA has not quite got that out, but please look. We'll have an orientation and first meeting in the morning, 8 o'clock. Agriculture and Consumer Affairs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chairman, you mean you're the first one out of the box with a meeting? Is that what you're telling me?
We've got some important business due this year, I think. So
as you always do.
I think these members are ready to go to work.
I know they are. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That completes our announcements. Now we have a young lady who has a birthday today. Representative Ann Allen Westbrook from down on the coast. Representative Westbrook, happy birthday. Chair now recognizes the Majority Leader for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Wednesday, January 25th, 2023.
On the motion of the Majority Leader that this House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Wednesday, January the 25th, 2023. Let's all remember that tomorrow is the State of the State address by the Governor right here in this chamber. So we'll be in at 10 o'clock and we'll move through our business of the day and we'll be ready to welcome the members of the Senate and the Governor to the chamber to hear from his State of the State address. That's the plan for tomorrow. So thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. All those in favor of the motion will say aye. That was weak. All those opposed will say no. We could stay here longer, but I think the ayes have it. It's clear we're adjourned.